The BMW Compact Cup is brought to you by Nankang Tyres and Gas Shocks. Hello and welcome to a warm but slightly overcast Castle Combe for the next two rounds of the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. Racing is about to get underway here, but first let's remind ourselves of what happened last time out at Snetterton. The two encounters at the Norfolk circuit were all about Steve Daly and James Gornall. Daly got the initial jump but was almost immediately overhauled by the championship leader before a moment on the grass gave Gornall a break. Charles Dawson was running well further back until mechanical dramas put him out, while Gornall was able to extend his lead and take a comfortable win. Race 2 was far less comfortable, Daly once more getting the lead into turn 1, but this time, try as he might, Gornall could not find a way back through. The battle further back was as intense as ever, particularly between Ben Huntley and Mark Skeet. Whilst at the front, Steve Daly just did enough to hang on for victory. An all-important victory too, because it means that whilst Gornall is still at the top of the table, Steve Daly has clawed back some valuable points to keep himself in touch, with Hunter and McEwan right on his heels as we arrive at Castle Combe. This weekend marks the halfway point in the championship, so before the racing got underway, we caught up with some of the drivers competing in their first full seasons. Former car racer Ben Huntley has quickly made himself comfortable in the Compact Cup, and he's established himself as the quickest of this season's newbies.
It's been really good. I've enjoyed every minute of it so far. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. I've had a couple of good rounds, a couple of bad rounds, but yeah, onwards and upwards. I hope to totally learn the car, totally finish learning the car and get the setup dialed in for next year so we can come back and hopefully fight for the title next year. I mean, we aim to be in the top 10 by every round this year, and so far we've achieved that.
Keith Towers made occasional appearances last season, but has committed to a full year in 2017 and is getting quicker and quicker with every round.
Came into Compact Cup end of last season, did two rounds at Donington and Silverstone just to get a feel for things. Liked it, decided we were going to run for the next season. We joined forces with AW Track Sport. The confidence is growing and we're getting to grips with the car now, so the objective is just to keep moving forward and consolidate our position in the championship and hopefully make up some more places.
And Thomas Langford arrives at Castle Combe fresh from his best ever finish at Snetterton in a season that he's thoroughly enjoying so far.
Absolutely loving it. It's brilliant. It's so competitive, cost effective as well, which I like, but really good close racing. So absolutely love it.
And your thoughts for this weekend here at Castle Combe?
I'm hoping for a top 10. I've had some issues during qualifying, so hopefully I'm starting 13th, so hopefully move up the grid.
We'll keep track of those three throughout the day, but at the front of the grid for race 1, it's once again James Gornall and Steve Daly, both underneath last year's lap record. Keith Towers qualifies in the top 10 for the first time this year, whilst race winner Mike Tovey returns in a car that he says is slightly lacking in top speed. Wayne Flint makes his first appearance in the championship, whilst further back David Sharp starts 20th after a grid penalty for contact with David May last time out at Snetterton. All in all, it's set to be another thrilling race here at Castle Combe. So, James Gornall and Steve Daly, 21 points separate these two coming into this weekend, and with only 8 more races remaining in the championship, it's vital that Steve Daly tries to take further points out of James Gornall's advantage. Get a few there, a few of the onboards we have further back, but the red lights are on. They go out now, and we're away racing for the first time here on board with James Nutbrown. What a start James Nutbrown has had. He started down in 9th place on the grid. Well, it looks like he's going to break his way through into 4th on the run up towards turn number 1. The two front of the field though, James Gornall and Steve Daly side by side as they make their way towards the first corner, with, by the looks of it, Matt Parks going with them, on board with Keith Towers further back, by the way, as he tries to break into the top 10, but it is James Gornall on the inside who should grab the advantage as they head through Quarry Corner for the first time around. 3 wide further back, and Ian Jones gets elbowed out a bit wide, loses momentum and will lose several places on the run now down towards the S's. Back on board with Towers, Ian Jones just in front of us as Steve Daly's back up the inside of James Gornall. He's gone back through, so Steve Daly will take take the race lead away from James Gornall. That is how determined Stephen is to try and cut into this championship advantage that James Gornall has steadily built up over the first half of the season. All these race wins for James. Remember, he's won 5 out of the first 8 races this season as the reigning champion, and Steve Daly, whilst he's been consistent, just hasn't had as many race wins, and so he arrives here some way back in the points, and he knows that this, at the halfway point of the season, is his chance to try and start doing something about that. The whole field looked to have got safely through the first set of corners though. I'll get a glimpse of Aaron Morgan a bit further back, and this was Phil Adcock, who was going up the inside of, in towards now the right-left at Bobby's. And meanwhile, at the front of the field, James Gornall's challenging up the inside of Steve Daly again. They're side by side through the final turn, and Daly risks getting hung out to dry here. Here comes Matt Parks up the inside of him, up the inside of Gornall as well. 3 abreast across the start-finish line. Parks on the inside, Daly on the outside. James Gornall risks getting squeezed in the middle. It looks like Matt Parks has gone through. Brilliantly judged that was from Matt Parks. On board now in 4th place with James Nutbrown. He's joining in the action as well. Onto the brakes at the top of the hill. Big lock up from the front of the pack. That was Parks who's sideways and off. Matt Parks off onto the grass, and bang, into the tyre wall he goes. What a shame for Matt Parks, who just got himself into the lead. Further back, there's more going on. That looked as though that was Gordon McMillan spinning around. Wow, it's all kicked off here early on at Castle Combe, and somehow, Teflon coated is James Gornall. He manages to find a way through back into the race lead. It's Owen Hunter who's into 2nd place. Now, Owen will feel like he was robbed of a race victory here 12 months ago, because he was out in front with a decent lead when late in the race we had a freak rain shower just at the final corner of the track, really isolated, and Owen, the first car on the scene, lost control in slippery conditions and went off the road. He wasn't the only one to do so, but he was the one that lost the lead. On board here with Daly, this is a replay of Matt Parks. He locks the brakes at the top of the hill, then loses the rear. He collects the slide, but just runs out of road, gets on the grass, and bang into the foam barriers. Hopefully, though, the car won't be too badly damaged. Those foam barriers do a great job of absorbing the impact. The battle at the front is not over yet, though, because James Gornall, Owen Hunter and Steve Daly, whilst they've built a bit of a margin now over James Nutbrown in 4th, who I think had to back out of that to avoid getting caught up in Matt Parks' moment up here a lap ago. He's dropped back now, but these 3 still battling away, and Daly wants to regain the lost ground. He's back up the inside of Owen Hunter. He's back into 2nd place. So once more, we have situation normal almost in the 2017 championship, with James Gornall and Steve Daly chasing him down. Can Daly do anything about the leader, though? This was on board with Stephen. He saw the lock-up from Hunter. There was a chink of an opening up the inside, and that was all the invitation that the Scotsman needed. Stephen Daly with a brilliant move there into 2nd place. Now, this is some of the battling going on further back. This is 4th place. In fact, Ben Huntley there diving up the inside of James Nutbrown. That was a nice move. The yellow and black car in 6th position. Just behind them is Mark Skeets. And then looked like Tom Langford having another good run, not far behind them, as the leaders are up towards the right-hander at Tower Corner. They've really broken away now, haven't they, from Owen Hunter in 3rd. Up towards Bobby's, on board with Steve Daly again. Brilliant on-board footage here from the 2nd place man. Further back, Tom Langford is up the inside of Mark Skeet, so he's already running well in 7th. He's now 6th because he's up the inside and he's gone through at Bobby's on the right-hand side of the screen. We're on board with Keith Towers, and we can see there that Mark Skeet's lost a lot of momentum as a result of that move, and he could lose 1, maybe 2 more places. Challenging around the outside there towards the final corner. Towers doesn't really know which way to go, does he? They turn into the right-hander. Skeet goes back through, and look at Ian Jones. Ian Jones joining in the action as well. This is why we love coming to Castle Combe. It does produce fantastic racing, doesn't it? Up and down the order. This is for 16th place, and that's Tim Scott Andrews going up the inside of Wayne Flint, and then David May trying to get involved too. Oh, goes up the inside of Wayne, and there's a little bit of contact. Wayne Flint across the grass rejoins, and David May goes through. Well, a bit clumsy, but nonetheless, Wayne Flint in his first race in the championship is able to rejoin. Back at the front of the field now, James Gornall and Steve Daly still going at it, and Daly's found an opening, has he? Yes, he gets his nose to the inside of James Gornall down towards the S's. He's got himself fully alongside, he gets his nose in front, and he goes back into the race lead. Fantastic stuff this from both of these two, and Steve Daly, for the 2nd time this race, gets past James Gornall, and then Gornall, with a not brilliant run out of the S's, actually drops a few car lengths back. Now, this is such a high-speed circuit, the slipstream definitely does come into play, and so if Gornall loses the toe, he may struggle to close in on Steve Daly again. He's now trying the distraction tactics, flicking the headlights on to try and put off Steve Daly. That little flash of light in the mirror, you'd be surprised what an effect that can have on the driver in front. Back on board with Keith Towers, and Mark Skeets there going back around the outside of the 46 machine, going in towards the right-hander. That's Mike Tovey, the returning Mike Tovey, who was third place in the championship 2 years ago and hasn't raced since in the Compact Cup. And it's Mark Skeets who's going backwards here, because having challenged to get back past Tovey, he's now cost himself a place to Keith Towers, who's a man on a mission here. Keith Towers now closing in on Tovey as well. Keith started in 7th place. He's now tried to break himself further up the order. A bit of contact there with Mike. Now, Mike said pre-race that car is lacking a bit in straight line speed. He is not lacking in confidence, though, is he? Sideways through Camp Corner, but he might have just lost a bit of momentum, because up the inside now is Keith Towers, up and over Avon Rise. They're about to go, and Towers will have the inside line for Quarry, and in fact, he doesn't need it. He's already gone through, and Mark Skeets bullies his way through as well. So Skeets getting up a place. Mike Tovey will drop one. We're on to the final lap of the race, by the way. This is why the racing is getting even more fraught than normal further back. Towers has gone through, but then runs wide onto the dirt. Skeets tries to find the gap up the inside, and further back, we can see on the left-hand side of the screen there, the red car. That's a recovering Gordon McMillan after his spin on the first lap after contact with David May, who he just overtook. Alan Caulfield is also joining in this battle. He's on the outside line. Gordon McMillan is on our inside somewhere. There he goes. And so Gordon McMillan is looking to try and salvage a top 15 place at the very least. This is a replay from on board with Mike Tovey. Now he's behind Ian Jones and Mark Skeets and everybody else at this point. And he's going to drop even further back now, because the car understeers out onto the grass, and yep, round the outside comes Sam Carrington-Yates. So Sam Carrington-Yates picks up another spot, as into the final corner for the final time come the top two. And Steve Daly, having got back ahead of James Gornall for the second time, hasn't really been able to escape, but he is going to hang on, much in the same way that he did last time out in Snetterton. It is a win, but a slender win for Steve Daly. James Gornall comes home second. This is James Nutbrown a bit further back. He's going to finish 5th behind Owen Hunter and Ben Huntley. 6th place will be Tom Langford. That is a really good run from him, with Keith Towers 7th, Ian Jones 8th, Mark Skeets 9th, and Sam Carrington-Yates will round out the top 10. Stephen Daly, though, takes the victory and takes a few more points out of his big championship rival, James Gornall. The first fastest lap for anyone other than James Gornall, in fact. That goes the way of Steve Daly. That's worth an extra point. Best finishes of this season for Ben Huntley, Tom Langford, and for Keith Towers. Mike Tovey we saw losing out on the last lap, dropped out of the top 10. Matt Parks, meanwhile, recovered to 15th after his off into the barriers. That is fairly impressive. Wayne Flint is 21st on his debut, and all 26 starters got to the end.
I was sitting behind him for the majority of that race. I mean, I was just trying to pick out the spot where I was quicker, where I wasn't, which was not many places, to be honest. I was just waiting for maybe a lock-up or something, just a wee run wide and try and get the undercut. And it came eventually. It was very, very, very close racing. I mean, elbows out racing, and you know what, paid off.
When he got past me, it was a bit unfortunate. I couldn't quite hold the tight line. I could see he was lining me up for the undercut, and he got it. But well done, Stephen, for doing that, because he'd been trying to line it up for a little while, and I was gagging for a go on the last lap, and it was very close. But unfortunately, we'll have to save it till next time.
I wasn't quite as exciting as these guys. A bit of a lonely race for me, but you know, I'll take a third. It's another trophy, another handsome taking of points. So yeah, not to be sniffed at.
Well, that was race 1. That was pretty exciting. More to come after the break. Hello and welcome back to Castle Combe. The Nankang Tyre BMW Compact Cup drivers preparing for their second race of the day. First, though, we spoke to local driver Matt Parks, competing in his home race this weekend, but with a heavy heart.
Yeah, a really heavy heart for quite a few of us down in Bristol, actually, for the guys that find my car and local boys, because unfortunately a few weeks ago we lost a very good friend, Sean Morgan, in a tragic motorbike accident, and we're all carrying very, very heavy hearts at the moment. This weekend I'm purely driving for Sean and his family, just trying to raise some awareness to what can happen and give something back to them, really.
Well, we wish Matt the best of luck for race 2, and he'll be starting on the front row of the grid for the first time this year. He will, though, have James Gornall, the championship leader, alongside Steve Daly and Owen Hunter on row 2, whilst further back Ian Jones, one to watch perhaps from 8th, and also Keith Towers and Gordon McMillan. Race 2 here at Castle Combe. The first race was sensational, battling up and down the order. Most notably, of course, that titanic scrap between Gornall and Daly for the race win. Is that what we're going to see again in race 2, or can some other drivers maybe get involved as well? The red lights go on, they go out now, away we go. Everyone is away, and Tom Langford tries to do what James Brown did in race 1 and cut the inside of everybody. Mike Tovey had other ideas, and they make a bit of contact, but it is going to be Matt Parks who grabs the lead on the run up and over Avon Rise for the first time towards the right-hander at Quarry. It always gets very congested at the top of the hill. He's already congested here. James Brown there with 2 cars side by side in front of him. That's Ian Jones on the left, and Brown doesn't really know where to go. Gordon McMillan comes sailing round the outside as well. Are they all cleanly through this time? No, Tim Scott Andrews off into the barriers further back. That's a fairly heavy impact with the foam wall, but it is Matt Parks that leads. Gornall second, Daly third. Mark Skeets trying to come through into fourth and does it. Squeezes out Ian Jones. Can he find the gap in line in fifth? Yes, just about ahead of Owen Hunter, I think has slotted in there in 6th with McMillan and everybody else in behind. Top 3 though already breaking away. Matt Parks makes his way down the hill. Here comes James Gornall up the inside, and there's a chink of an opening. Bang! Contact between the 2 of them. Gornall up the inside. I think he should be able to make that stick, but it was definitely a bit of paint being swapped between the 2 of them. On board with James Brown now as he's trying to find a way past Gordon McMillan. Through the right and left at Bobby's at the front of the field. They're still battling away, aren't they? But it looks as though it is now Gornall in front, Parks in second. But crucially for James Gornall, Steve Daly is still down in third. Ian Jones there going up the inside of Mark Skeet. Steve Daly in third place gives us a grandstand view of that. Looking back at Jones up the inside through Camp Corner. It's a brave man who tries that, and now Owen Hunter gets a good run as well. Tries to draw himself alongside. Don't think he made that one work though. Up the hill they go. Lap number 2 begins, and it looked like Steve Daly was getting quite racy there. Yes, he's found a gap up the inside of Matt Parks. James Brown further back as well. It's all very busy indeed. Gordon McMillan trying to get across his nose and trying to go around the outside in towards the right-hander here. Oh, careful boys, through they go. McMillan runs out a bit wide, and so Brown is going to possibly pick up a place, I think, there. Blimey, very, very close racing again. It is Daly who's through into second, so Parks down to third. Then it's Skeets Jones next in line, followed by Owen Hunter. Then Brown now ahead of McMillan. Ben Huntley's also got himself into the top 10. That, remember, was his target that he set himself going into each weekend this season. Top 3 make their way down the hill now towards Tower Corner. This is a great overtaking opportunity, as James Gornall proved a lap ago, and as Ian Jones is proving on this lap. He's up the inside of Mark Skeet, but he was being given, I think, a bit of assistance there by Owen Hunter, who squeezes his way through as well. Big lock-up from Skeet into Bobby's. Can that give maybe James Brown a chance to get a run on him through Westway and down towards Camp Corner? Doesn't look like it. So very busy indeed for 4th, but that scrapping is allowing the top 3 just to build a bit of a gap. Now, can Gornall build a gap over Steve Daly? From what we saw in race 1, you would suggest not, but in the past we've seen James Gornall be really, really good at this. He gets out in front, and if Steve Daly's got any pressure from behind, he seems able to pull away. This is what happened on the first lap with Tim Scott Andrews. I think Keith Towers up the inside, loses the rear, and well, Tim Scott Andrews does a very good job to avoid being sideswiped there by Towers, but in doing so ran out of road and ended up in the barriers. But look, hardly a scratch on the car. Those foam barriers are a brilliant idea. They absorb the impact beautifully. Rory Clark has found himself a long way off the track. Not sure what the issue's been then. Can't see any visible damage, at least on the left-hand side of the car, but he appears to be out of the race. Leaders make their way back through Tower. There's Ian Jones in 4th. Owen Hunter in 5th. They're now dropping Mark Skeet slightly in 6th. Oh, and a bit of a mistake there from Ian Jones. Hunter tried to get up the inside into Bobby's, but it's quite a short run down into that chicane, so he couldn't make it stick. This is Rory Clark, and this is the grass, and this is not the racing line heading through Quarry. And Rory Clark had some sort of issue. I think I could hear in the background. Oh, that is the sound of a deflated rear tyre, I think. So puncture potentially there for Rory Clark. Unfortunately, the young Scotsman is out of the race. This is the battle for 7th place. Gordon McMillan, Ben Huntley and James Brown involved, and just in front of them, Owen Hunter trying to get up the inside of Ian Jones. He was on the grass. That's very brave indeed through Folly, and now into Avon Rise as he found a gap on the inside. Might have done. We'll never know though, because we instead have a look back at James Brown, who is following a very smoky Gordon McMillan, who was defending the inside line there, locked up, and out of nowhere Sam Carrington-Yates pops up the inside of Brown. So not quite sure how that happened, but there was plenty of room there, and Sam Carrington-Yates was only too happy to make his way through. You see the top 2 escaping slightly now from Matt Parks in 3rd. Those top 2, Gornall still ahead of Daly, but they are nose to tail. So that battle looks like it's going to run right down to the checkered flag, doesn't he? Catch a glimpse of them there. Here's the 4th place scrap. Can Ian Jones now get back up the inside of Owen Hunter, who has found a way through at last? Tower is a potential chance to do so. Not on this occasion though. James Brown now, we're back on board with it. Carrington Yates has now found a way past Gordon McMillan, and James Brown's lost it. There's the wall, and James Brown from the highs of Alton Park, where he got his first ever win in a car a few rounds ago, and now unfortunately that car is a little bit second hand. No foam barriers there, and he has found the tyres, and he's not best pleased with himself, is he? David May here with Keith Towers battling over 12th place, so Keith Towers not quite at the moment able to replicate his top 10 finish from race 1, but he's about to take 12th place from David May. Both of these drivers are getting solidly quicker as the season's gone on, of course. Keith Towers in his first year, David May not. He's a little bit more experienced in his compact cup racing, but he's getting further up the order with every outing, isn't he? This is Tom Langford battling away with Mike Tovey. Tom working his way now down towards the chicane at the S's. Got a great 6th place finish in race 1. That was his best finish as well. Now this is a replay of what happens to Brown. He loses the rear, steers into the slide, which is the correct thing to do, but then the front of the car grips, snaps back to the left, and a heavy impact with the wall and the steering wheel bears the brunt of his frustration there, I think, after the accident. Now this is for the race lead on the final lap, and Stephen Daly remarkably has got at the inside of James Gornall down towards the S's. Gornall tries to shut the door and can't. So Steve Daly's gone through on the final lap of the race. Could Steve Daly get his first double race victory of the season so far? He got his first win of the year last time out at Snetterton, so the momentum is certainly rolling in Steve Daly's favour at the moment, isn't it? A win at Snetterton, a win this morning in race 1. Can he now hang on for half a lap and keep the championship leader at bay? If he can, this is going to be really significant in the championship, because that gap is getting smaller and smaller with each race that Daly wins. David May, unfortunately, his battle with Keith Towers is over, and it's come to a smoky end with seemingly an engine failure putting him out at the end of the race. But can Steve Daly hang on? Only one more corner to go. We're heading down towards the final turn now, and I think that Daly is going to do it. He sweeps his way into the right-hander at Camp Corner. James Gornall throws everything at the last turn, but he can't get there. Steve Daly will win both races here at Castle Combe. James Gornall comes home in 2nd place. It's a fantastic, feel-good 3rd place for Matt Parks, whilst 4th place goes the way just of Ian Jones, back ahead of Owen Hunter in the latter stages. Mark Skeets comes through next. This is Mike Tovey further back. He is coming through to try and hang on to 10th place from Tom Langford, which I think he'll do. Langford gives it his all through the last corner, but has to settle for 11th, with Keith Towers just behind them, rounding out the top dozen. This is Aaron Morgan, meanwhile, further back. Now he is fighting for 15th place with Alan Caulfield, and again proving that wherever you are in the compact cup field, you've got someone to play with. Aaron Morgan can't quite get alongside though into the final turn, and the Allied Mobility sponsored machine draws alongside at the line, but Caulfield will just about hang on. Steve Daly crosses the line first, but it is a rather subdued celebration on the last lap. What actually happened just out of our sight? Well, this is what happened going into Quarry. Stephen Daly sees a gap on the inside. There is a little bit of contact with James Gornall. He gets alongside. Both drivers understandably frustrated post-race. Matt Parks, though, wasn't. A very, very happy 3rd place after the disappointment of race 1.
This is unbelievable. We worked so hard this weekend, and with obviously, as you know, the first race was a stupid error on my part. It didn't show the pace we had, but then we managed to pull it off for this 2nd race. Couldn't keep with the two front guys, unfortunately. I was trying to find some pace to stick with them, but this is all for Sean and his family, Sean Morgan and his family, his friends at Find My Car. So thanks very much.
Well, here is the final result then. Stephen Daly controversially demoted to 2nd after Gornall filed a protest. We'll see the fallout from that decision at the next round at Silverstone. Outside of the top 10, Tom Langford was 11th, Keith Towers 12th, David Sharp, David Ashforth and Alan Caulfield rounding out the top 15, whilst Wayne Flynn gets another finish in his first meeting of the season. We lost David May, James Brown and Rory Clark from that race. Here is what it does to the championship standings then. James Gornall actually does not lose that much ground to Steve Daly over the course of the weekend after Daly's penalty. Owen Hunter is 3rd, James Brown 4th and Matt Parks 5th place in the championship. The home of British motorsport beckons next for the BMW Compact Cup as we make our 2nd visit to Silverstone. Join us then for all of the action.